Okay, from your current perspective, you can read a newspaper, and it tells you of things that are happening all over the world. There are articles, pictures, advertisements, and you, as the individual you see yourself as, you can tell exactly what each of these mean. But what if you changed perspectives? What if you zoomed in closely? What if you picked up a magnifying glass and looked at your newspaper? Suddenly, the messages and stories and pictures in the paper lose their meaning, and all you see is a series of dots or pixels. There are no more stories, no more pictures, no more half-price sales, no more birth announcements, no more obituaries, no more good news, no more bad news. Only innocent dots, pixels, here and there upon a snow-white background. The stories and pictures and news have all leaked out through the cracks, haven't they? When you zoom in, they're gone. Well, not truly gone, but their meaning, as interpreted when you are reading your newspaper normally, is indeed gone. And all that remains is these dots, dots that carry no such message. Instead, you are seeing the vehicles and building blocks that lie behind the presentation of these messages. You see those instead. And in changing to this focus, you extricate yourself from the emotional or thinking reaction that the stories and pictures were orchestrated to give. And you see the innocent source of the stories. You see the vehicle, which is only a collection of dots, neither good nor bad. And if we change perspectives again and relate to this newspaper from the perspective of a ladybug, we're making our way across a stiff, unending desert-like landscape to God knows where. And the newspaper is an entirely different thing again. Both the stories and the dots go largely unnoticed, and the paper has instead become sort of a journey, this world that you, as the ladybug, are traveling. And it's a completely different thing, seemingly. Yet nothing has changed except our perspective. It's the same newspaper. And if we change perspectives again and look down at the newspaper from the top of the tower, all we see is a small piece of what appears to be a paper, might be a newspaper. Who knows what it is exactly, and oh well, never mind. It already blew away in the wind, the stories it contained never influencing us, the landscape as it was to the ladybug never considered, and the dots or pixels never noticed. But they were all there, weren't they? Just because you didn't see it, just because your perspective did not allow you to relate to it in a way that these things could be noticed, doesn't mean that they weren't there. But even so, in each of these cases, we're still talking about the exact same paper, aren't we? Only our perspectives have changed. Only our perspective. And this is why this is so very, very, very important to those of you who wish to see further. And it's why you don't see these things. Because with this change in perspective, what you're looking at will seem to change in a very real way. But we cling to only one perspective, the one that reinforces us as individuals. And so we don't see the dots and pixels. We can only focus on the news, good and bad, the ups and downs, the horrors and the hallelujahs. We don't see the stillness of the dots and pixels and how they are what these things are made of. They are the means of its expression. Instead, we are gripped by our one perspective, and so that's all we see. But these things you want to see are seeable with this shift, because what you are looking for is just another face, a different facet of this same newspaper. just as there is always the one truth, just experienced or observed from different perspectives. If we look more closely, our perspectives are made up of two variables, and what I have come to call filters and frames. These filters and frames make up our world as we see it. Our frame acts as our paradigm, what we consider to be reality, and into these frames is where we place whatever we allow in to our world, our reality. And our frame holds it relatively steady and collected for us and presents us with this version of the world whenever we open our eyes and greet our day. Like a corral or a fence, our frames hold the pieces that we view as our world. But that's not all the pieces. Our filters are a little different. They are how we choose to color and arrange whatever we place within our frames. We taint it and tweak it and scooch it over from here to there with our filters. And our filters and frames are born of our individuality, of who we see ourselves as. And so the variation is not only endless, but it is also not fixed. It depends upon us. And we can change this, and we must if we wish to see these things that seem to elude us. And this is what is happening as we go round and round in search of this thing we call enlightenment, because we are never truly without it. Only our perspective at that moment is somewhat fixed, and it is set to a perspective that doesn't allow us to relate consciously in the way we want to. But even though you could not relate to it as you would so far, you have never, ever, ever been without it. Do you see? It's all there and it's all one.